mountain bike fans, and welcome to the MTB Heat Check Power Rankings. Every week, we're going to pour over the data, analyze the results, interpret the performances, and present to you, the Heat Check viewing audience, the top 11 riders of the week in North American cross-country racing. We're going to start with the women and look first at number 11. It's one better than a top 10, and I swear, it has nothing to do with Spinal Tap. In the 11th spot, we're going with quality over quantity. With a 6th place finish in the Sea Otter Long Course and a 9th place in the XC race, Cliff Pro Team's Katarina Nash rises above her 14th place in the Pro XCT standing to take the 11th step in the Heat Check rankings. Landing at number 10, and this is where things get tough, keying off of a stellar 6th place finish at Vail Lake and back-to-back 11th place finishes at Sea Otter, we're slotting Rose Grant into the 10th spot. In 9th, matching her Pro XCT ranking, is Norco Factory Team's Haley Smith. A podium at Vail Lake, top 10 at Benelli, 16th in the Stack Sea Otter XCO race earns Smith number 9. And right in the mix in every race and looking to break into the front group is your 8th ranked rider, Alexis Scarda. 7th place finishes at Benelli and Sea Otter XCOs, and an 8th place on the Sea Otter Long Loop has Scarda sitting in the 8th spot on the Heat Check Power Rankings. We're getting close to the top 5. We're almost there, but we're gonna go to number 7. Lucky number 7, and it is the surging Catherine Pendrell. Coming back from injury, the Cliff Pro Team rider is ramping up her efforts nicely. 13th at Benelli, 5th in the Sea Otter XCO, and then third at the Sea Otter on the long course. The former world champ is getting stronger every week and should continue to jump up the power rankings. In the 6th spot is another rider who is coming into the season strong. Stan's Pivot Pro Team presented by Maxxis's Chloe Woodruff. Landed on the 3rd step of the podium at Benelli before getting sick and having to miss Vail Lake. But she's on the mend and ticked off solid 6th and 7th place finishes at Sea Otter. And that brings us to the top 5. The wide angle podium, with 5th place finishes at Vail Lake and the Sea Otter XCO race, and a 4th place to start the season in Benelli. Show Air 2020's Leah Davison is the first person on that wide angle podium of our Heat Check Power Ranking Board. If you tuned in for the Pro XCT show we did for USA Cycling a few weeks back, you may recall that Davison was 3rd, but the competition is ramping up, and for this week, she drops back a few spots into the 5-hole. In the 4th position and moving up a spot from 2 weeks ago is the Stan's Pivot Pro Team presented by Maxxis racer, Sofia Gomez Vichafanye. 4th place at Vail Lake, 4th place in the Sea Otter XCO race, 4th place in the Sea Otter Long Loop race after winning the group sprint. It's only fitting that Vichafanye is the 4th place rider in our Heat Check Power Rankings. And coming in at number 3. This is another tough one. Assigning the appropriate weight to the accomplishments of the remaining top 3 and getting them in the right order was no easy task. But being able to sort it all out is why we make the big YouTube bucks. So, without further ado, your number 3 rider in the Heat Check Power Rankings is Aaron Huck. The Construction Zone racer was 2nd 2 weeks ago and has done nothing to warrant a drop to 3rd. But sometimes it's not what you do, but what others around you do that determines your fate. 2nd at Vail Lake, 2nd at Benelli, 2nd at the Pan American Championships, and 2nd in the Sea Otter XCO. It makes no sense to have Huck in 3rd. But sometimes the Heat Check Power Rankings just aren't going to make sense. But they are what they are, and Aaron Huck is 3rd. Which brings us to the 2 spot. And again, we're in a bit of a pickle here. What to do. Our final 2 racers have ironclad arguments for why they should be number 1. But there's no way we're giving it to both of them. There's no tie for the top spot in the Heat Check Power Rankings. And here we are. At number 2, who's it gonna be? Who is gonna get the 2nd step in the Heat Check Power Rankings? And it is Annika Langvad, the queen of Sea Otter. She's never lost a race in Monterey. Never. Short track and XCO in 2018, XCO and long loop in 2019. Langvad is 4 for 4 at the otter. Surely, that is enough to get the top spot, and I'm sure I'll hear about it in the comments. But, alas, she's only on the second step. The impressive results at Sea Otter catapulted Langvad to third in the Pro XCT rankings, but it's going to take more than that to knock off the Queen of the Hill, and it's really going to come as no surprise that your world champ, Scott SRAM's Kate Courtney, retains the top spot in the Heat Check Power Rankings. Her shifting issues kept us from witnessing the much-anticipated matchup between Langvad and Courtney, but despite the two in-race setbacks, Courtney didn't give up, put her head down, and came away with top results. But the number one spot isn't a gift. It's not awarded to what might have been. It's based on performance, and before the mechanical mishaps at Sea Otter, Courtney had swept the calendar with commanding wins at Benelli, Vail Lake, and the Pan American Championships. She's got more jerseys in her closet now than most teams, and for that reason, Kate Courtney remains the number one rider in the MTB Heat Check Power Rankings. And now for the men's side. Right from the start, we have some tough choices to make. Who gets that last invite to the party is not an easy call. The difference between the top 11 and the top 5 is really a question of consistency, and it's a bit of a judgment call. The points are all stacked together so close that we're going with the Heat Check staff consensus. And that means in the 11th spot, we're giving it up for our man Kohei Yamamoto, who has spent the early season away from Japan and his European training grounds to race in the US. 9th at Vail Lake, 11th in the Sea Otter XCO. He may be 14th in the Pro XCT standings, but we're giving Kohei-san the Heat Check bump for farthest commute. In the 10th spot, it's easily the most improved rider for this early season. 34th place at Benelli, 27th place at Vail Lake. It doesn't scream top 10 for your Heat Check Power Rankings. But that was before Bear Development Sandy Florin put the pieces together and motored to a 6th place finish in the Sea Otter Long Loop course and a 7th place finish in the XCO. Top marks for the U23 US National Champ. In the 9th spot is another young gun mixing it up at the front. 7th at Vail Lake, and a pair of 8s at Benelli and the Sea Otter Long Loop puts Cole Patton into the top 10 of the Power Rankings. Number 8 in our rankings is the kid from Denmark, the rider who still gives Ellie Iserbyt nightmares, and the winner of the Sea Otter Long Loop, Specialized Racing's Simon Andreasen. The former junior world champ in XC and CX jumped up to number 5 in the Pro XCT standings on the basis of that Sea Otter win. But the Heat Check needs a little more juice to land in the top 5 of the Power Rankings. Come back for more North American racing, Simon. We'll keep the lights on. But until then, you're number 8. And that brings us to number 7 in the stands, pivot rider Keegan Swenson. Some bad luck at Benelli left him with his work cut out, but he's more than made up for it with a 6th at Vail Lake, a 5th at the Sea Otter XCO, and a 4th on the Sea Otter Long Loop. If we extrapolate this out, we should be seeing Swenson on the podium and moving up the Power Rankings soon. Right off the wide-angle podium in the 6th spot is Raphael Gagne. He'd beat Gagne if he played baseball. The season got off to a strong start with a podium spot at Benelli, but there were some rougher starts at Vail Lake and Sea Otter. Normally this would knock you down a few pegs in the rankings, but in between Vail Lake and Sea Otter, Gagne pulls off the race of the year to take the Pan Am Championship. You get a jersey, and you get to move up a few spots. Currently 9th in the Pro XC, Gagne slots into the 6th spot in the Heat Check Power Rankings. Which means that the Mountain Goat, Jose Gerardo Ulloa, is your 5th place rider. A breakout win at Benelli, silver medal performance at the Pan Am's got him on the list, but a 5th at Vail Lake, in 8th place in the XCO race at Sea Otter, and a DNS in the Long Loop race, dropping from 3rd 2 weeks ago down to 5th. In the 4th spot, and similar to what we saw in the women's ranking, this one is just meant to be. Serendipity, 4th place at Benelli, 4th place at Vail Lake, 4th place at Sea Otter XCO, and a founding member of the MTB 4th line. It's your 4th ranked rider, Nowadays, everybody want to talk like they got something to say. It's Pivot Cycles' Leandre Bouchard. And number 3 is our heat seeker. 2 weeks ago, he slipped into the top 5 with a 7th place at Benelli and a 3rd place at Vail Lake. Norco Factory Team's Andrew L'Esperance added another 3rd place finish in Seattle and is right in the mix in every race he enters. Skipping a few rungs on the way up the ladder, L'Esperance is your new 3rd ranked rider. Our 2nd ranked rider is having a phenomenal start to the season. The Canadian national champ sat atop the rankings a few weeks ago after a string of solid 2nd place finishes. But a 5th place at Seattle from Norco's Peter DeSera and one guy who was on the hottest of hot streaks in those same races means that DeSera slips down a step to 2nd in the rankings. And that leaves us with 1 spot to fill. And for this week, it's a no-brainer. 1st place at Vail Lake, 1st place in the U23 Pan Am Championship, 1st place in the XCO race at Seattle, and a gentleman's 2nd place in the long loop race means that Specialized Racing's Christopher Blevins is your undisputed #1 rider in the MTB Heat Check Power Rankings. And that's it. Let's hear from you online by using the hashtag MTBHeatCheck. Also, do us a favor and like, subscribe, and share with your mountain bike friends. Next stop for us is the Epic Rides Whiskey Off-Road, where we will be bringing you all the action from the Fat Tire Crit and Pro Cross Country race. Until then, I'm Bill Scheiken for Wide Angle Podium and MTB Heat Check. See you next time, mountain bike friends.